Good afternoon. We will call the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of June 9th, 2021 to order. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Here.
Commissioner Botel?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Vice Chair Miller-Anderson?
Present.
Chair Lanier?
Here.
We also have Jonathan Evans, Executive Director of the CRA, Michael Haygood, General Counsel of the CRA, and Shirley Desir, Clerk for the CRA.
Thank you. We will have a moment of silence with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Lawson. As we review the agenda for this evening, staff, board, are there any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
None from staff, Madam Chair.
Are there any disclosures by commission and staff in regards to this agenda that's presented to us this evening? Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
I move to adopt the agenda as is.
Second.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Botel?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller-Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Motion passes. Motion carries.
Yes, unanimous vote. Consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council person or commissioner so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do we have any public comments for our consent agenda?
We don't have any public comments.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Botel?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Miller-Anderson?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion passes 5-0. Regular agenda number 4, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving an agreement with Lambert Advisory LLC for an amount not to exceed $49,000 to provide professional consulting services for the 2600 Broadway redevelopment project, providing an effective date. The acceptance of public comment cards is now closed. We have no public comment.
Thank you. Mr. Jonathan Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, at this time I'd like for our Planning and Development Director, Mr. Scott Evans, to make this presentation.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairperson and board. This is a contract to approve for the Community Redevelopment Agency with Lambert Advisory, and it's for consulting services to advise, prepare, develop, and negotiate a public-private partnership agreement for the redevelopment of our existing property, which is located at 2600 Broadway, which is the northeast corner of Broadway and Blue Heron. And on May 12th, at our previous CRA board meeting, the board approved demolition of the existing building on the site. And during at that meeting, the board also received a presentation on the potential concept for what this site could become. And the board directed staff to move quickly to bring back the next step in the process. The attached agreement will engage Lambert Advisory to provide the board with a multitude of advisory services, including, but not limited to, site analysis, financial assessment, preparation of the developer solicitation, evaluation of the developer solicitation, They will conduct a board workshop, and then they will also assist in the formation and finalization of a development agreement for your final consideration. And this project, this process is estimated to have a timeline of about 6 months. And on April 21st, the City Council approved the execution of agreements for public-private partnership advisory services with 4 firms, Avison Young, Jones LaSalle, Lambert Advisory, and PFM. And City Council approved Resolution 3521, which approved the city to enter into continuing service agreements with those firms. The proposed scope includes several tasks. The first one is to complete a site analysis and financial assessment of the concept. Task 2 is creation of development solicitation. This is the RFP or ITN, whatever method is decided upon. And then to conduct a workshop with the board to get your feedback and comments on direction for that solicitation. The task 3 is to market and coordinate the issuance of the development opportunity. Task 4, they will evaluate the development responses and advise the CRA board on the most suitable selection. Task 5 would be they would coordinate a presentation with the highest ranked developer and present recommendations and analysis for your consideration. And task 6 would be to negotiate the development agreement with the selected developer and present it to the CRA board for approval. The CRA has negotiated the attached consulting agreement. Lambert Advisory has strong residential credentials, and the proposed project is primarily a mid-rise residential project with some ground floor commercial to activate the street and possibly some office space on the second floor. The costs for the contract include a base fee of $39,000 and an additional amount not to exceed $10,000 for negotiation of the final development agreement, which will be brought back to the board. So the total contract amount shall not exceed $49,000. And once completed, the concept that was presented to the board at our last meeting, a conservative valuation for what that project might bring in tax revenue is more than $350,000 per year. And staff recommends that the CRA board adopts the proposed resolution approving the agreement with Lambert Advisory. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Evans. Are there any questions from the board in regards to this item?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, with regard to the study that we're undertaking in terms of density and intensity along our Broadway and Blue Heron corridors, how does this project overlap, if it does, with the work that Treasure Coast that's doing that work? How does this project overlap, and will this consultant take into consideration whatever recommendations come from Treasure Coast?
The final recommendations from Treasure Coast would require us to delay this project considerably before we issued it. So what we're proposing is to go over the existing zoning with the consultant and review that also in coordination with development services. And then also possibly to have an option that if we were to perhaps add a couple of floors of height or perhaps some increased density, that might be able to be included in the solicitation. So the response could be, well, here's the project, and if I did get the additional height, but we will make some assumptions so that we can move forward now in case the board would like to consider a project that's slightly higher or more dense than the current zoning regulations would approve. But if we waited for the final approval of all of those changes to issue the solicitation, that would be about another 6-month delay. So.
Follow up. So if I understand you, you're saying that if the consultant comes back and says, it looks like we could do something higher than you referred to it as mid-rise, then we could take that into consideration and make some exceptions, even though the zoning hasn't changed yet.
Yes, and we could ask for proposals that might have an option to go higher.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Yes.
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Scott Evans, I guess the submittal to the RFP, where's that? Do we have that? I think you said we did a RFQ for
Yes.
CFM and
So these, sorry, Madam Chair. The resolution 3521 was approved by City Council, and I believe that's attached to the agenda item. And so when the City Council approved they had the responses to all of the P3 procurement from the 4 firms. And we selected Lambert. They were one of the first firms to complete their continuing services agreement, and they had a strong residential credential. So we've attached the resolution that it's not signed because I couldn't get the signed version, but it was approved by the council.
Okay, let me restate my question because that's not what I was asking. I'm looking for specifically how did they respond to our request for qualifications? And whatever that document is, where's that located? Is that something that can be provided to us? Whatever was evaluated that got us to the continuing agreements?
Yes, the city's procurement department would have that document.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because, you know, I'm looking at their proposal and I'm not exactly sure that I understand how qualified they are. I mean, I don't have a problem with supporting it, but I specifically was looking at the proposal and it seems to be 2 separate ones, so help me understand. So this one that's submitted in the backup speaks specifically to 2600 Broadway.
Yes, sir.
Is that separate from what they submitted for the request for qualifications?
Yes, the request for qualifications was just to find companies who are experienced in public-private partnerships. And this particular scope of services before you tonight is a specific scope of work to provide the CRA board with, from start to finish, to develop, market, and approve a development agreement with a public-private partner.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Scott Evans regarding this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Evans, just for clarity's sake, you said that were they the only responsive firm to this sheltered market request from the 4 firms that we had?
Yes, so we have 4 firms under continuing services who are approved for continuing services agreements. Only 2 of the firms had completed a continuing services agreement as of the creation of this agenda item. They're still working on those agreements, the city attorney's office. And of the 2 firms, Lambert, during the evaluation process, was highlighted as having strong residential credentials. And they do have a representative today, Mr. Eric Liff, in case you have any questions for him. So we negotiated this agreement directly with Lambert in order to try and move it as quickly as possible.
Okay, the request for RFQ, how long did we have that out to these 4 firms, or the 2 that were actually eligible to apply?
So these 4 firms were all approved by the city council to be under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So we chose one firm that we felt was the strongest and negotiated this agreement
So
directly with them.
you selected from the firms?
Yes, we selected only one firm to negotiate with.
From my understanding, the sheltered market gives the opportunity for all the firms to be responsive to any of our requests. So that's not how the sheltered market was set up. Our intent was to create a vehicle to send out a request and giving all 4 firms the opportunity to respond. But what you're saying is only 2 of the firms were eligible or able to do it. So with even those 2 firms, we didn't give both firms the opportunity to respond to the request to actually submit this bid. So that's not how I think the intent of myself or my colleagues intended for these shelter markets to be established. We intended for them to give an opportunity for each one of these businesses. We passed an electrical RFQ, we passed a construction RFQ, and we passed this one. So just to select them is counterproductive to giving everyone the opportunity.
I don't think this was one of the sheltered markets opportunities, but
we created an RFQ with 4 public-private partnership advisory firms to allow for us to have a pool of vendors to select from.
Yes, sir.
But we didn't actually give the pool the opportunity. We literally just picked one off of the block.
Yes, it was, in order to make it on tonight's agenda, it was only possible to negotiate with one firm. If we were to, we could either wait for all firms to be under contract, or we could issue to the other firms and then conduct an evaluation process, staff committee, advertise that we were going to make a selection. So that the process, the competitive process, would take more time, and we could do that, but that would result in a delay.
So the entire council, all of my colleagues in this dais have shown that we are aggressive with moving in a safe manner, in a constructive manner that's going to help establish a unity within our business department, within our city, and within the different departments that we have. Right now, this doesn't give transparency for me when it comes to just hand-picking the firms from this pool without giving every firm the opportunity to be responsive. I understand that we were rushing to get it done because we do want to see this building developed. We gave direction to the staff to get this done immediately, but this wasn't the direction that we gave. I don't want to see it rushed. I want to see it done properly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam
All right.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So with this firm being selected for this particular project, will the other groups be in the running for, will they be chosen next if we do something, when we do something?
Yes, we recently, well, for example, for the Marina project, we've invited all three firms to provide a proposal to the CRA, and one firm has responded. The other firm said that because they don't have the continuing services contract yet, that they're not in a position to work on our project, and the other firm has taken several weeks, but I guess they're working on their proposal. They are interested. So we did, because the Marine project is much larger, we sent that offer to all three firms who were selected by the CRA board.
Not including Lambert, though.
Yes, we included Lambert.
So in all fairness, would it be appropriate for us to leave Lambert out of the next round of, for example, the Marina project, and just go with the other three and give them an opportunity since Lambert has already been selected for this one, or the potential to be selected for this?
Yes, we could do that.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Hey,
I'm sorry. I had the mic.
yes, you're recognized.
I think my only concern about that would be, is the Marina project not going to be a much larger project, and to eliminate somebody just because they've done this relatively small project seems to me unfair. I don't know. Just one voice, but.
Yes, go ahead.
And I understand what she's saying with that, but I think it would be unfair to doing it the way that we're doing it now with this particular project,
Yeah.
if that's the case. I mean, obviously we want to move forward, but we want to be fair and equitable in how we're doing it. And so if we're going to move forward with selecting Lambert in this fashion without giving rotating, or giving everyone a fair opportunity to weigh in on it, I could not agree with allowing them to be in the next group of projects that we do. I mean, if we're going to do it, we have to do it both times, be fair about it.
Yes, Mr. Jonathan Evans, can you speak to this? Because I think what is happening is this. We had a meeting, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, we were presented with 4 different firms to be able to do business with the city CRA in regards to upcoming projects. And our understanding, at least my understanding, because I don't like to say all my colleagues understand because I'm only speaking for myself. My understanding is that there will be a pool of 4 or how many ever submitted. You would vet those 4 firms, and then as projects come up, like the 2600 block, like the Marina, like the whatever other projects, 11th Street, whatever projects that we have, that we would solicit from that pool a bid, if it were, to be able to see who would be best fit for that project. Now, I don't know what the criteria is in regards to how that is going to be done or how that will be done, but it should be done in that way instead of choosing one and then choosing another. And then I think that the 4 that came to us and you presented to us should have an opportunity to be able to bid on a project from the city and not the city just choose, CRA just choose who it is, because if that's were the case, we could have just took the 4, chose one, and just went with one the whole time. So if you can speak to that, Mr. Jonathan Evans, I would appreciate it.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the item that's before you this evening, obviously, based on the conversation that we had with the board, the intent was to bring this consultant on board as quickly as possible to be able to move forward with the solicitation document and then negotiating the terms and conditions once we do receive proposals. With respect to the solicitation process, we selected 4 firms to be able to utilize based on their expertise and skill sets. Some of these firms possess a more vast skill set and a deeper bench as it relates to economic development projects. So when staff does look at who is the most suitable firm for the job, they do look at the solicitation document, they do look at the expertise, and they do look at the speed in which the board wishes to move on the project. So there is a process whereby staff believes that this firm is well suited to be able to move forward with this project. The others are still going through the continuing services agreement process, and then we would have to go through the solicitation. So in order to expedite this particular initiative, we wanted to bring this to you all. They went through a competitive solicitation process. There's no specific mechanism that requires you to ask them all for proposals. You can, certainly, or you can select the one that's best suited. When we go through the same process for the Marina Phase 2, there is one firm that has a deeper knowledge base as it relates to the complexities associated with that process. And so there's going to be a firm that invariably that staff feels more comfortable with moving forward. I think this particular firm has the depth and the experience to be able to bring this process and project out of the ground as quickly as possible. If we look to ask all firms to go ahead and respond, we can certainly do that, but then that's going to, in fact, delay the process. Could be anywhere between 2 to 3 months before we get it back to you all to get to this exact point. So we thought, based on the direction or the conversations the board had, that speed and a sense of urgency was the direction that we wanted to go.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Yes, let me respond to him. I asked him a question, and I see now what you're saying. You have 4 firms. One may be good in plumbing, one may be good in drywall, but if you're doing a drywall project, of course you would go with the one who has the background in drywall. So I see what you've done. Thank you for that explanation. Yes, go ahead. You recognize Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Mr. Evans, I'm going to be in support of moving forward with this because I do want to see this done. But for future, what I want to see is that the pool is properly utilized, where we give every opportunity to the vendors, the 4 vendors, to apply for anything that comes before the board, because putting it back out is only because it was not done properly the first time. So it would delay us 3 months because we did not give every firm the opportunity, even though there was only 2 firms that actually have their paperwork in currently, which I understand there'd be the only 2 that would have an opportunity to respond. For the next solicitation, I want to make sure that we give everyone at least a certain time frame, whether it's 30 or 45 days, to respond, so that when it comes before the board, that we've given all 4 from these selected firms to opportunity to respond. So that's what I want to see moving forward. But I will be supportive of this, colleagues, because I do want to see some progress done with getting these projects up and going. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other comments in regards to this item? We did not get a motion for that item. Can I get a motion to approve this item?
I move that we approve the resolution of the board to approve an agreement with Lambert Advisory.
Second.
Very good. I want to say one more thing before we move on. I just wanted to have the public to understand the reasoning behind the CRA moving in this direction. It just really just clicked and made sense to me in regards to why out of 4 you would choose one based on the fact that they have a better forte at doing this particular project, so I can understand that. And I trust the judgment of the CRA to be able to understand which one would best suit us for the city, but also giving everybody the same opportunity. Madam Clerk, can I get a call to question, please?
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Botel,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier,
Yes,
motion carries.
unanimous vote. Number 5, Madam Clerk?
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Rivera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving a professional service agreement with Street Art Revolution for $114,641 and Fondo Studio LLC for $16,400 to provide public artwork and painting services to designated properties within the CRA district, providing an effective date. The acceptance of public comments is now closed. There are no public comments.
I move that we accept resolution of the board to approve the Street Art Revolution and Fondo Studio contract.
Second.
All right, very good. Go ahead, Mr. Evans. Could you introduce the presenter?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board, I'd like to introduce Mr. Andre Lewis that will be making the presentation on behalf of the CRA.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. So we're going to go through the art and branding project round 3. So just to give you a little bit of background, who has that? Oh, okay. All right, to give you a little bit of background, back in September of 2020, the agency received budget approval for $165,000 for round 3 of this project. November of 2020, RFP 2020-03 was put out on the street seeking art and painting services. April of 2021, the agency received submissions from Street Art Revolution and Fondo Studios LLC. Each design was scored and ranked. Also, the board-appointed representative, Commissioner Dr. Julia Botel, attended the evaluation committee meeting and oversaw the process. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions in regards to this item?
No, I'm not. I was
don't
just
think it's
saying.
finished.
No, I was thanking Commissioner Botel for attending the evaluation.
I got distracted. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. I was about to shut it down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. All right, so we'll start off with the first art design. It's for the Ocean Walk beach entrance. It is the front side of the beach entrance. It's about 6 foot tall and 146 feet across with the 2 poles. And you can see the design. I know you have copies there. I know it's a little dark here, but you can see the design below, and also the underwater design for the poles on each side. And this is Street Art Revolution. Their price for this is $11,400. And this would be the back side, the same stance, the poles and the wall itself, and this is going all the way across. Now, this is the retaining wall entering into the beach area from the Ocean Walk entrance. This art will run right across the bottom. It's about 2 feet high and 120 feet across. And you can see the multiple designs there showing a wave motion with the decorative color fishes going across. The next design will be for Fondo Studio LLC, and it would be installed at Seashell City, which is right across from the current CRA office at 2100 Broadway. And this will be installed by, as I said, Fondo Studio, Georgia.
Sir, is that on the front part of the back or the side?
It'll be on the front part. It'll replace the mural that's there now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and this is a 3D mural, and, you know, it'll give an opportunity for art spelunkers, as I was told by one of the artists, that visit the site. They can take a 3D picture and post it. The next design, as you can see below, will be for the commercial building at 65 West 21st Street. The mural size is about 18 feet high and 90 feet across, and this will be installed by Street Art Revolution. The next one is at Bicentennial Park's concession stand wall, and it's about 18 feet high, 32 feet across. Street Art Revolution, and you can see the young people inspired art below. This is also on the east side of the Bicentennial Park concession stand building. You can see the art below, and it also, in the next slide, you'll see it encompass the actual poles. And this is for the pole base itself. And these are for the 6 poles that are out there. You can see the underwater inspired design going 60 feet up the pole. Now, the next 3 slides are for the submitted. We requested that the artists give us some Riviera Beach inspired sculptures, and this is what was given to us for the next 3 slides. These will not be a part of this round 3, but it'll be for future installation, and we wanted to have an opportunity to present it to you. So this will be the proposed sculpture will be placed at 13th Street and Avenue C, entering into Marina Village. The next one is proposed for the corner of Blue Heron and Broadway. Currently, the CRA owned property on that corner. It currently has a welcome sign. We would replace it with this sculpture, and you can add the Welcome Riviera Beach to the sign. And in addition, if we had future development, we could move it to another location. And this one is proposed for 23rd or 22nd Avenue and 22nd on Avenue E. This will be a part of the future development for Avenue E. It called for a roundabout to slow traffic in that area. And one of the proposed ideas from the architect was to put either a mural or a large tree or a sculpture in that roundabout, and this would be one of the proposed ideas. So for the budget, Street Art Revolution contract amount would be $114,641. Murals by Georgetta or Fondo Studio LLC would be for $16,400. The total project amount would be $131,041. The total project square footage will be 6,188 square feet, and that amounts to $21 per square foot. And the industry average is between $20 and $30 per square foot for a normal size or a normal looking mural. If you get into the 3D art, the more the detail, the more expensive it gets. And I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead. Who
Thank
was
you.
last?
I love street art. I love art in public places. But when I look at the price tag on this item, it seems to me that we have so many items, so many issues that we have right now in the city and the CRA that we might want to take a look and ask staff to provide us with a list of other items that we could use this money for, maybe table this or vote individually on the separate projects, so maybe one or two of them could get done now. And I would really like to hear from staff what other things we could use this amount of money for. $131,000 is a lot of money. I particularly like the sculptures, which are not even in that $131,000 amount, but I'm wondering if when we do the project at the marina, could we not fold some sort of art in public places into the developer's responsibility so that I think that particular sculpture is very, very nice, and I'd love to see it there, but I don't think the city should pay for it. I think whoever does that development we might want to ask them to pay for something like that. But my concern right now is spending $131,000 on art, which again, I am very much in favor of. I love the murals that we've done so far, but it just strikes me that right now we have so many other pressing issues that we should at least take a look at what other things the CRA can spend that money for. So my request would be that we get from staff a list of items that we can spend $131,000 on.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Lawson, you're recognized.
Thank you. This is part of the program that we've started to create. We've started to come up with a more robust plan, which is the Arts in Public Places. The direct funding that we're using could actually be funded through the AIPP program with businesses investing into the community. We've done research throughout the nation when it comes to arts in public places, and the interest that the business sector has in developing and helping the communities grow is beneficial to their business themselves. So they have no problem investing into our streets, into our sculptures, into our murals that we're actually placing around the community, because that's going to increase the quality of their business, the residency, and beautify the community, which is also going to put their total revenue up. So putting a percentage and creating a robust plan is going to allow for us to actually not use the tax-paying dollars, but actually use the dollars of businesses coming to the community to make money off of our city. So I agree tremendously with my colleague, Dr. Julie Botel, when it comes to the spending that we're doing, because we budgeted this item to allow for beautification because we have to invest into the CRA district, but at the same time, we have to quickly and aggressively create the plan and the program to outline beautification with using the businesses that are being attracted. At our meeting last night, Reimagine Riviera Beach, our city manager stated that we're going to be spending $500–600 million in development. Imagine a percentage of that going towards our arts and public places, our programs for our kids in the community, the different development and growth that we have. Because the arts and public places is not just putting up murals. It's an entire built-up program where it's going to be education, where it's going to be murals, where it's going to be structures, where it's going to be beautification of our community, but then also working with our school district in the programming of the arts. So the robust and diverse plan that we're trying to build, I think we need to get to work on funding it. And I'm concerned with the amount of money we're spending for these murals, but I do know that we have to invest. We have to put investment into the city, but the sculpture I'd be in support of. The murals, it's difficult to get behind because I know that the maintenance is a high cost, and then also these probably have a life expectancy of 2 to 3 years. So spending that $130,000 on 2 to 3 years is difficult for me to accept. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
yes, go ahead. You recognize Commissioner.
I was
Black.
going to ask about the maintenance cost. Do we know what it is, the cost of the maintenance for these murals?
Well, as a part of the proposal, we have all the murals being sealed after they've been installed, and we've seen that they've held up, especially for the last 3 years. So there isn't really a maintenance plan that is a part of their proposal, but we're looking at, cleaning if for some reason they were vandalized, but that's the purpose of having it sealed after it's installed, so we can simply wash it off.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're done.
Are you finished, Commissioner Henderson? Yes, go ahead.
So the beautiful one that we have on the side of, what is it, the pawn shop on the corner of Blue Heron and Broadway,
Yeah.
that's lasted quite a few years. I'm trying to remember how long ago.
Yes.
It seems to be in pretty good shape. I think they do last a fairly long time, given that we've protected them in that way. And I do want to also say, before I completely dismiss this as a possibility, it's painful to have someone like Ms. Fondos and like Street Art come to us, spend the time that it takes to respond to an RFP, take the time to give us some drawings, work with us to change them. I hate to say, no, we're not going to do any of this. But for example, the stuff over at the ocean, and shame on me. I mean, I'm telling you, don't do anything on Singer Island. Probably some of my constituents will say, "What is she crazy?" But the Ocean Walk Beach entrance, maybe it just needs a coat of paint right now. Maybe we just need to spruce some things up. Whereas the Seashell City, because that's right where you come into the city, maybe we should do that one, and maybe the one on 21st Street and 65 West 21st Street, ones that are sort of more visible right in the city, are ones that we should say, let's do those now, but hold off on Bicentennial Park, hold off on the Ocean Walk Mall, so that the people who took the time to propose these things at least get a little something to get started, but we don't have to spend $131,000 to do the whole thing. That's just a thought.
So if it's the desire of the board for us to choose some of them and do that, that can be done also.
Are there any other questions for this presenter?
So if I might, could I propose that we table this item until we get some direction from the city administration, or excuse me, CRA administration, as to whether or not we have other projects to which this money could be put, and whether we could divide this proposal up into chunks so that we could vote separately on whether or not we want to do Ocean Walk Mall area, or Bicentennial Park, or the ones that are right in the city.
Very good. Board, what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair?
I'll make that motion. And do I have a second?
Go ahead.
I was just going to agree with my colleague when it comes to repurposing some of these funds, allowing for us to have more of a discussion and dialogue with maybe being selective of a few of the murals, and then using some of those funds to repurpose to a project that can be impactful and beneficial to the community economically, and also maybe programming operations-wise. So I will second that motion.
Thank you.
It has been, motion has been made to table this item. It has been seconded. Are there any discussion in regards to this motion?
So, yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so what specifically are we looking to happen when we send this back, Commissioner Botel? Like, what's the expectation?
I would like, because this is CRA money, I want people to understand it's not city money, it's CRA money, so it has to be spent for specific CRA projects. I would like to have from administration a list of CRA projects toward which we could put this money, and also a recommendation about whether or not there might be one or two mural projects that we could move forward with, so that we use a small amount of money for art in public places, but reserve the rest of the money for other projects, that housing, for example. I mean, there are things that we really need as a city that are more pressing. And I am very much in favor of art in public places. I love the murals, but it's just that right now it strikes me that there are so many things that we need money for, that I would like from administration to tell us what potentially some of those things could be.
Follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. No, I have no issue with it, but I guess I want to make sure that the CRA Executive Director knows what we're expecting, so we're not just sitting here expecting something to come back. I just want to hear from him on, how this can be, how we can see what you're asking, Ms. Dr. Botel.
Before you go, Mr. Evans, are there any other questions in regards to this item before we get to a response from the Executive Director? Very good. Go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair and members of the board, I think, two opportunities just off the top of the head without having, further conversations with staff would be looking at our down payment assistance program, as well as the grants that we provide to residents to do home repairs. I think that those programs are programs that are very popular within the CRA, and then we could also look at an expansion of our Clean and Safe program, or where we, install the smoke detectors and the Ring doorbells and what have you. But we would have a more robust conversation with staff, but that's kind of off the top of my head, some programs that we certainly want to look at, especially the component that looks to address some of the housing challenges that we have in our community.
Madam Chair?
Yes, let me make a comment. I do like the project. I do think it's too much money, but I do want to see something from it.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Go ahead, Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I completely agree. I want to see those projects and those funds go towards beautification of our residents in the CRA, the funding for the homes, for just improving the quality of the home ownership in our city, in addition to some of the projects that we have, but not using $170,000 of it, because there's down payment assistance that we have 11 townhouses that are going to be coming up in our CRA on 11th Street. We have houses, we have yards that are in bad shape. So right now, some of those programs that Mr. Evans just outlined is what we want to see some of that money allocated to or reallocated to. After coming out of this pandemic, I want to really assist with addressing the slum and blight in that CRA district, and that's with assisting those homeowners in that CRA district. So applying and reallocating some of those funds while still addressing some of the needs, but on a limited basis. I love the roundabout on 13th. That is a good idea. Possibly looking at a few other ones, but we can sit down with the executive director, talk about some of the concerns, and possibly bring this back to the board later. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So the motion that Dr. Botel has is to table it until we get more information about how we can utilize the funds, and then possibly get more information or have a discussion so that we're able to narrow down to which art projects we want to utilize.
Yes.
All right, so we're
Yes.
going to do that.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may, if you would postpone the item in lieu of tabling it, because tabling it, then you would have to pull it off the table. If you postpone it until, if you give staff maybe at your next, or maybe the first CRA meeting in July, we can provide some options for the board to consider.
Thank you. I modify my motion
Still second.
Go ahead and modify it so that the clerk can get it.
to postpone rather than table.
Okay, very good. Does that second still stand?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. We have any public comments for this item? Do we?
Not for this item, just general public comment.
Okay. Call the question, please.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Botel,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier.
Yes,
Motion carries.
very good. Let us move on to our next item.
RFQ 1024-21-2, request for qualifications for legal services. The acceptance of public comments is now closed. We have one public comment. Mary
good.
Bram for public comment.
Yes, we'll have the presentation first, and then we'll get to
Okay.
public comment. Mr. Jonathan Evans, could you provide us the information for this item?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board, the item before you this evening is the culmination of the solicitation that the CRA put out concerning legal services based on the direction provided by the board. The city has, or the CRA has, put out a solicitation. There was 4 firms that responded, 3 of which have made it to the final steps in the process, and then 1 that has withdrawn from the process, leaving 2 one entity and 1 particular individual to make the presentation this evening. We've allotted about 30 minutes each for the presenters to provide an update or a presentation on their experience and expertise. The internal staff did look at the solicitation packets and then provided a ranking as to their review of the solicitation. I do want to share with the board that the decision resides exclusively with the board. Even though staff did provide the ranking in the solicitation packet, that is merely from the standpoint that they were responsive and responsible respondents to the proposals, and based on the submissions, staff did provide scores, but the scores are not necessarily germane to the discussion and the decision that you will make this evening. After the presentation is provided by both entities, we then have a scoring sheet that we would ask for you to fill out ranking number 1 and number 2. We do need you to also communicate in the ranking sheet publicly your ranking, because that's consistent with the statute as it relates to ranking and communicating that in a public forum. After that, the clerk will grab the scoring sheets, provide the tally, and then provide you with the number 1 and number 2 ranked firms. After that, staff will ask for a direction to move forward with with the negotiation for the terms and conditions of a contract to provide legal services to the CRA. It is my recommendation that the CRA board allow for me to work with the city attorney to draft a agreement at the conclusion of the meeting this evening to bring back to you at a future meeting for consideration. With respect to the solicitation and the amount of time that it was out, I will ask that our procurement director, Ms. Pimsel, provide some information to the board and to the public as to the solicitation process and where the solicitation was posted and how long it was out and how many persons did download the packet. But we have gotten to 2 individuals or 2 firms, the Pittman Law Group as well as Michael Haygood, our general counsel for the CRA. Ms. Pimsel, if you can provide an update on the procurement side.
Good evening, CRA Board, Chair, and members. For the record, my name is Althea Pemsel. I'm the Director of Procurement. I wanted to go over, as Mr. Evans said, our information about the firms. We did issue a solicitation. That solicitation was issued on March 3rd, 2021, and it was advertised in the Palm Beach Post as well as the city's procurement website and additionally the CRA's website. On May 3rd, we received 4 proposals for legal advisors. 2 of the firms are from Palm Beach County, 1 is from Leon County, and the other one is from Miami-Dade County. The firms that responded was Fox Rothschild LLP, J. Michael Haygood, Pittman Law Group, and the Center for Professional Legal Services. The committee held a written evaluation of the proposals on May 14th, and that committee consisted of 3 staff persons. The ranking in the end, which is only to provide a scoring mechanism, a written evaluation scoring mechanism, has Michael Haygood as 1, Fox Rothschild is 2, and the Pittman Law Group is 3, the Center for Professional Legal Services as 4. We received, when we issued it, we received 80 downloads or 80 reviews. It was broadcast to 80 law firms. Of that 80, 24 of them reviewed it. Of that 24, 6 downloaded it, and we also received an additional suppliers of 6 firms that were added as well. As a result, we received the 4 proposals. Are there any questions? Again, to reiterate what Mr. Evans said, we did have 4. Fox Rothschild withdrew only because there was a scheduling conflict between a current commitment with the board on the same day or same times that the CRA board in the city meets. So they had to withdraw because of that commitment.
So we only have 2 applicants?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead. You recognize, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Pimsel, thank you. Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank the individuals, the firms that did apply. Thank you for your interest in the city, and thank you for wanting to participate as the attorney for the city. Out of the 80 that viewed this solicitation, did you follow up with these firms to find out why they didn't apply or what interest they had or what was the steps that were taken to not really having an interest? Because with the 2 that we have remaining before us, that's a low percentage of viewing to what actually applied.
I did not. because the poor responses we had, I did not.
Okay. And then the other thing is, you said the solicitation was put out at the CRA website, the Palm Beach Post, and the city website.
Yes.
Was there anywhere else?
I'm not sure. Those are my sources. That's where I placed it.
Okay. That's a very limited
I'm sorry,
path.
say it again.
That's a very limited path of marketing if we're trying to find a wide base of options for the city. I was just trying to rack over the last couple of days as to why that we're moving in such a positive direction when we have an amazing staff. We have colleagues that are actually willing to work and move forward with the city and work together to get things done in the community, yet we only had a limited number of responsive individuals. I had to look back at the option of it's probably limited marketing because the only two remaining options we have is our state lobbyist and our former attorney. So as of right now, I'm concerned with how we're marketing and soliciting and producing to people across the country for the city of Riviera Beach. We have to do a better job soliciting for everything across the board, not just this, not just this solicitation, but everything that we do. Because there's no reason that we're only getting 1, 2, 3 response to these RFPs and RFQs that are going out for multi-million-dollar contracts, for hundred thousands of dollars that people will be making a year for salaries to come operate with a council and with a city manager and with a CRA director that's very progressive and in the direction of working together to get things done. So I'm a little frustrated with the number that we have, but I'm excited to hear about the presentations that they have to bring to the table. But we have to work on a better process of procuring these individuals, that giving the options for our residents to select more of a base. Okay? Thank you, Ms. Pimsel. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any other questions in regards to this item? Or this particular presentation, I should say. Mr. Evans, Jonathan Evans?
Yes, Madam Chair, at this particular moment, we will allow for the first firm, Pittman Law Group, to make their presentation to the board. And then following that presentation, if there's no questions, then we will move to the second presenter, which will be Mr. Hayes.
Very good.
You want me to leave?
Mr. Pittman?
Yeah.
Good evening. It's nice to get this mask off for a little bit. Thank you all for the opportunity to come before you and Madam Chair and council members, Mr. Should I say Executive Director on this one? Thank you all for having us. I first want to start with thanking the committee for their work in trying to put forth, evaluating the folks who wanted to work for you. I appreciate them putting that. That's hard work. I've done it before. I know all of you have before too. It's very, very hard work. And it leads up to the difficult tasks that you have as well. So on behalf of our firm, we are very, very happy to be here today because we want to help. We want to help this CRA with the aggressive and amazing projects that you have before you, and we are prepared to do that. And I do want to introduce my colleagues that I brought with me tonight, and you'll hear from both of them, but our lead attorney, Chris Smith, who many people might remember spent quite a bit of time in the state legislature, but he spent the last decade as a real lawyer because that's his training. And we're happy to have him part of our team at Pittman Law Group now. And Attorney McKinney Williams, who has also been an attorney for, I don't want to date you, Ms. McKinney Williams, but for almost 20 years, and board certified in education law as well. So we're happy to be here. We want you to get to know us better. And I say that because I've worked with many of you in a different capacity in being, our firm has represented you in Tallahassee for many, many years. And in the meantime, if you didn't know, we were a law firm. And we have a very, very robust local government practice. And when this opportunity became available, we thought, you know, we do so much down there already, we could really lean in a little more. And that's why we're here. We want you to know that in our full service, in our effort to, sorry, I feel like Vice President Pence, who had that fly on his head. In that effort, over the last 20 years, we have built a very, very robust local government practice, and we've got 5 lawyers that have expertise in different areas of local government work, but throughout it all, we are a very, very strong team, and we hope as we celebrate our 20th year of a firm that was built and developed, created right here in Riviera Beach, that we crown it with the opportunity to do great work for this CRA. You know already that one of the great things about our firm is we are a Florida firm, a firm with an office in Miami, an office here in Riviera Beach, an office in Tallahassee, and on July 1st, opening an office in Orlando because of the significant local government work that we're doing there. We are building something that has not been done for a boutique minority firm, and that is we're building a quality firm to do difficult and transactional work for local governments throughout the state. And we're good at it because we love doing it. And we're hoping we're able to do that here. Every lawyer in our firm has served as general counsel of some local government or some entity or organization throughout their career. And so we bring a combination of that type of experience to what you need here at the CRA. I think we have slides. Oh, that's what this is. Okay. So did I say we're not a technology firm? Okay, so I press this button? Oh, this is cool. Okay, all right, I got it. I did this one, all right. Our public entity experience, we provided day-to-day or on an as-needed basis legal services to a number of local governments, including the Gaston County Board of County Commissioners, the City of Tallahassee Municipal Code Enforcement Board, Leon County Code Enforcement Board, Tallahassee-Leon County Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Broward County Delegation, School Board of Leon County, School Board of Wakulla County, City of Gretna, and City of Jacob, Florida. So we are very, very busy, but we're very selective in these opportunities that we go after. We're very selective because we like what we are. We like that we're a boutique law firm, a law firm that's able to give significant time and quality work to the clients that we go after. And having a familiarity with Riviera Beach, it only made sense for us to lean in here and try to continue to do great work for this great city. I wanted to show you an organizational chart so that you can see what this representation might look like. I'm Sean Pittman, by the way. I don't know if I even introduced myself. I'm Sean Pittman, by the way, the managing partner of this firm. Attorney Chris Smith would be the lead attorney for this opportunity. Attorney Opal McKinney-Williams, who's here, would be, she's a senior attorney at our firm and would also be secondary in the seat. And of course, you can see we have 2 other attorneys at the firm, all of which are very, very involved in local government work. I don't like talking about myself, but I'm supposed to tonight. I have spent considerable time. I started my career in local government as a staff attorney for the House of Representatives. And throughout that time, developing just a love and appreciation for local governments and what they need in order to take care of the people's money, and what they need in order for people like you to actually service your constituents. I started out here in Riviera Beach, graduated from Suncoast High School, and then went to Tallahassee for my undergraduate and law school education. After I left being a staff attorney, I then went on to do significant administrative work before the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, and then on to starting my own firm and making sure that we were growing in those areas as it relates to local governments and governments throughout this state. And throughout that time and that work, I've received many accolades for that work. Some of the stuff you'll see in your packet, but a couple of things I'm most proud of is being appointed as General Counsel Designate of the National Bar Association, and being awarded by the Tallahassee Barristers a Hall of Fame award for my years of legal work, and a recipient of the National Bar Association Heman Sweat Award, which was presented by Attorney Benjamin Crump during his years and time as president of the National Bar Association. So very, very proud of that work. And now much of those accolades are because I lead a firm of amazing lawyers that come before many entities and offering them the same thing that we're offering you tonight, and that is an opportunity to work closely with you and advise you, help you with safeguards in making sure that the statutes and interlocal agreements and leases and contracts and development agreements and all those things that are very, very important to a community redevelopment organization, that we are able to assist you in that way. I wanted to go from here and introduce our lead attorney in this project, and that's Attorney Chris Smith. And I'll let him talk about himself. I'm sorry, I will say, because I always tell him that all his pictures look like an album cover, so don't mind that. That's just that's just him. So let me turn it over to Attorney Chris Smith.
Good afternoon, Board. Just a quick introduction of myself. I'm a 95 graduate of FSU College of Law, so I've practiced law for over 25 years. I began my legal career with a firm in Fort Lauderdale, and we represented Alamo Rent-A-Car, and I was in charge for about 5 years negotiating all of their leases nationwide. So on behalf of a major corporation, I negotiated most and wrote a lot of the leases as Alamo began its expansion nationwide. After that, I left the firm and went to a firm in which we did litigation on behalf of the Florida League of Cities. Riviera Beach is not part of the self-insurance, and so we never had an opportunity to represent Riviera Beach. But from Vero Beach to Key West, I represented cities during litigation aspects of it. So it was after a case was filed, after an action was done. I was in charge of prepping for trial and even sitting in some of the trials, defending municipalities from everything from public records requests to auto wrecks. And so I've quite a lot of experience representing municipalities once litigation is filed. As Attorney Pittman mentioned, I served many years in the Florida legislature on the Rules Committee, vice chair of the Rules Committee in the House and in the Senate, in which we dealt with a lot of legislation and even revamped some of the legislation that you're dealing with. And as a vice chair of the Rules Committee, it was my job to make sure that the legislature followed all of its rules and that the House and the Senate conducted itself in a manner that was spelled out by statute and by the Constitution. After leaving the legislature, I was appointed general counsel of the Broward delegation. That is important because I went from being the senior member of that delegation to now being its general counsel, its lawyer. And I took that role very serious in that we, in order to, as you know, file legislation in Tallahassee as a local bill, there's a lot of things that has to be done locally with your own rules, with the House rules, with the Senate rules, and within statute. So I had to make sure that was done. But the reason I really mentioned that role is I went from senior member policymaker to general counsel. And I understand the difference in that. I went from setting the policy to making sure that the policy set by those elected is implemented in a correct manner. And I take that role very serious, and will take that role serious by serving as your general counsel, not as a policy maker, but to follow the direction of the policymakers and make sure that your policies are implemented in a way consistent with Florida law and federal law. When it comes to CRAs, in 1996, as a young lawyer, started the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Association, which was a local association, which was the precursor to the Fort Lauderdale CRA. I've worked for many years with the Fort Lauderdale CRA, and as a matter of fact, I've worked on both sides of the table with the CRA, benefiting and using some of the programs within the CRA within Fort Lauderdale. And I'm proud to announce in 2020, my project won the Redevelopment Project of the Year for the state of Florida, a project that I did in conjunction with the Fort Lauderdale CRA. I will be the attorney sitting here at your meetings advising you upon request. I will be the attorney giving you the legal advice on a day-to-day, but I will be one of many to provide counsel to you, and will seek the assistance of the next person speaking, Attorney Williams, as well as other expertise within our firm and with outside counsel that we may from time to time develop. But I will be the person at the day-to-day meetings to make sure that we do everything in a legal and orderly fashion.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Attorney Opal McKinney Williams, and she, like me, doesn't like to talk about herself a lot, but I will tell you the reason I brought her on the Pittman Law Group is because of her particular expertise in the Sunshine Law and in public records law and in procurement law. And there's probably no one better in this state. And I stole her from over a year ago now from a large law firm that pretty much runs things in North Florida. And for our firm to be able to bring her on board and be able to offer her to you tonight is a significant achievement. So Attorney Opal McKinney Williams.
Thank you, Attorney Pittman. Good evening, everyone, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Mr. Evans. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here. My name is Opal McKinney Williams, and as Attorney Pittman said, I am proud to be a senior attorney at Pittman Law Group. A little bit about me. I am a proud product of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I attended Florida A&M University, where I graduated with my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I attended Florida State College of Law. I have had over 18 years experience representing local governments, school boards and counties, and doing a little bit of work for cities also. Over the years, I've been able to work, I've had the pleasure of working with a variety of local governments, advising them on a variety of issues, including, as Attorney Pittman said, Sunshine Law, Public Records Act, procurement. That's been a lot of what I've done. But I've also been able to work with, sitting mostly as general counsel, working with local governments on property acquisition and disposition, public-private partnerships, intergovernmental and interlocal agreements and arrangements, and general compliance with state and federal law. I'm very proud of the work that I've done over the years. As Attorney Pittman said, it's a good thing to be able to do work for government that's doing work for our people. So I'm happy to be here, and I think at this point we're ready to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, and before we do that, I want to add one thing that Attorney Chris Smith left out, and one of the reasons we're so happy to have him work with us is an expert in Robert Rules of Order. That I think you started the groundwork of that, not really in law school, but as chairman of committees in the legislature. But that is one of the strong points that I also think he'll bring to this body. Often, it won't always be what you want to hear, but it will be the letter of Robert Rules, and I think that's really important. And before we take your questions, listen, we know that what you do here is very, very important. There was a law put in place that provided for an opportunity for blighted areas of our community, for areas where our seniors lived, for areas that deserve the opportunity to contribute to their own destiny. We know that that's the work that you do here. And we know whether it's rehabilitative or whether it's conservation or redevelopment, we know that what's most necessary is that you do it within the confines of the law. We also know that we are not the policymaker. You are the policymaker. But even in your interest to be creative and to think outside the box, it's very important for us to make sure that you color within the lines. That's what we would be here to do. And we thank you for the opportunity. We thank the committee for giving us the opportunity to stand before you today. But we know you're very serious about this work. And we know that we'll be a partner that would be, our interest in it would be congruent with yours. So with that, we're happy to take any questions you may have for us. And Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Pittman, where is 2655 North Ocean Drive, Suite 303?
It's right across from the Ocean Mall, 2655 building.
Is that the high rise?
It's right on the corner where Blue Heron turns into North Ocean.
Okay, so it's the tall building?
Tall building,
yeah, okay.
with the
garage.
Reflective, the garage and the reflective windows.
Right, right. So you'll have an office right there?
Our office is there.
Okay.
And it has been since 2006.
Okay. When you look at it on Google Maps, it looks like it's sort of in the Ocean Walk Mall. I'm thinking, no, you can't have an office over there.
I wouldn't mind it there, but y'all could help with that.
High enough to have a good view?
No, we Councilwoman, we've been there a long time, and it's a great location because listen, I grew up here. When I think about that property across the street from there, I get, when I'm in the office, get to look at what's real potential and real opportunity, and the things that even have been done there to date is, I think, headed in the direction of where we need to go. So yes, we're there, and we will do office time there. I mean, Mr. Smith, Attorney Smith, lives right in Fort Lauderdale, so being here with you will be easy. And Ms. McKinney-Williams will be down during the course of the meetings and both working in the office during those days and days before as necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the Pittman Law Group, specifically Mr. Sean Pittman or his staff, partners?
Partners,
Staff?
my partners.
Okay.
Don't say staff, that'll cost me.
No, I didn't mean to disparage and say staff,
No,
but partners.
thank you,
Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you all for your presentation, and the only question I had is, so the two of them would be available to attend the meetings when we have them each week or whenever we have the meetings? We will have someone here present during those meetings?
Yes, Councilwoman, and primarily Attorney Chris Smith will be the one here.
Okay.
But we've committed also Attorney Opal McKinney-Williams. Sorry,
like
her name's so long.
Like mine, right.
Like yours, like yours. So you relate.
Yeah.
But she will be down as support. So oftentimes you'll have two lawyers here, if not all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for presenting great information.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Pittman, thank you again for
Council.
Being a part of the city for many years and actually having an interest in serving as our council. Availability to the council and to the staff. I understand that we will have representation here at our council meetings, or CRA meetings, whether it's once or twice a month. But accessibility, we tend to call our legal counsel on a regular basis. So how accessible will that be? Are we going to get a bill for those phone calls, or are you guys going to just be accessible to us for those constant phone calls? Because we want to make sure we're prepared and ready for these meetings coming in.
Absolutely. And listen, it's what we do now. So it's not outside of our routine with other clients. And the good thing about it, because I know you, if Attorney Smith doesn't get back to you in 15 minutes, you'll probably call me or you'll call Attorney Opal McKinney-Williams. But you also know Attorney Jasmine Henderson in our office, and Attorney Clayton knows what. That would not be an issue. And I think as it relates to even the current work that we do, I'm not sure that anyone here would say that we're not extremely responsive, and that can't change because of the work we have to do here is for taxpayers and for people who expect us to show up for work.
Perfect. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience with large, complex developments, agreements, property acquisition, and we have some major projects that we're currently working on. So I want to hear a little bit about that experience and how it can be beneficial for what we're doing here.
Okay, so the experience that I've had has been sitting as general counsel to local governments, working through development agreements with an eye towards the issues and the particular laws that the local government has to deal with. So oftentimes, the developer, there will be separate counsel who may be involved in drafting the particulars of the development agreement. Sometimes my job is to review all documents, to provide insight, to revise, to prepare with an eye toward what the government is in need of. And so that's what I've done for every local government that I've been involved in. There have been certain projects that were public-private partnerships, and then other projects involving development. And so that's how I've approached it.
That was my follow-up question.
Let me add, sorry.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question, just your involvement in the public-private sector development and that development aspect, because that's something that we've been speaking about, especially within the conferences that we've traveled throughout the country, and direction with the development we're doing with on the city and CRA level is the P3 option. And we're looking at that. We want to make sure that we have some insight and we have counsel that can kind of protect and cover us and guide us through these steps.
Well, from my standpoint, right now in Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale are seeking to do a P3 project for a joint city hall. I served as one of the councils on a developer that presented for that. Mm-hmm. We subsequently pulled out at the last minute for other reasons, but I was part of developing that development plan and submitting it to Broward County. So not from the municipal standpoint, but from the developer standpoint. I've recently worked on a P3 project with White's Construction and a couple of others that presented for that project in Broward County.
Thank you, Mr. Pittman, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for the questions.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for this group? Very good. Thank you so much for your presentation, sir.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you. CRA Director?
Madam Chair, we're awaiting Mr. Haygood. He stepped out to allow for privacy for the firm to be able to make their presentation.
Very good. Do we have, I guess we'll wait until after the second presentation for our public comment for this item.
Yeah.
We went to the beach.
So, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I guess I want to ask a question of the executive director. So, obviously, this is transactional in nature that we'll be using the law firm, but, you know, in the unlikely, and I would hope that this is highly unlikely, I mean, we wouldn't be expecting any kind of litigation services from our counsel, would we?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
No, that would be something that would be probably more specialized, and then your counsel would provide a recommendation as to who would be best suited to handle the litigation.
Okay.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Haygood. You can proceed.
Madam Chair, council members, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Michael Haygood, and you have a copy of my response. I'm just going to highlight some of the areas I think are relevant to serving as general counsel, not only to this CRA, but the other CRAs that I represent. My initial training out of law school was for municipalities. I worked for the city of West Palm Beach, the city of Miami, and Boca Raton. In those positions, I served various departments. Planning was an area that I wanted to be involved in, but I also did procurement and also pensions. After leaving the assistant city attorney position, my last position was with the city of Boca Raton. I actually started working for CRAs. As I listed in my response, I actually established in the sense of drafting all documents necessary to set up the CRAs in West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, Port St. Lucie, and actually the City of Riviera Beach Redevelopment Agency also. Since then, I have worked as general counsel, or currently work as general counsel, obviously for the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency and the City of Lauderdale Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency. I also serve as special counsel to the City of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency. Some of the things that I've done in the CRAs was, as I said, draft formation documents to the creation of the agency. I've served as issuer's counsel, this is in West Palm Beach, for the initial bond issue that was backed with TIF funding. I think it was I know it was the first in Palm Beach County. At that time, the statute had not been tested, and we were being challenged on whether or not we could issue the bond issue by the state attorney's office. We established the fact that it was constitutional. There was a big question for a long time on whether or not the statute was constitutional because of the way the TIF was computed. And there were some areas, legal areas, that thought that was actually a bond issue and that the CRA should have been going to referendum. I also worked and I actually served as issuer's counsel for a bond issue that we did for the Kravis Center parking. This was when the Kravis was first established, so that's been a few years. I did, at that time, was doing also eminent domain. I did the eminent domain work for Quadrille Boulevard, which is the street that goes from, I guess, it was a bypass, if you will. I worked in Boca Raton, the Community Redevelopment Agency, when it was first formed, excuse me. Also in Boynton Beach and Port St. Lucie. Again, most of that work was centered around establishing the CRA and getting it up and running. In the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency, I actually served as special counsel in the negotiations of several development agreements. One project I think is about completed now. It was, I don't remember the number of units. I think it was about 200 units that was designated as workforce housing. The city actually provided, or the CRA provided, a $10 million grant to the developer for this property. There are also several smaller projects that we did and negotiated development agreements on Sistron. I currently serve as the general counsel for the Lauderdale Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency. We did quite a bit. I don't know how familiar you are with the city, but we did quite a bit of acquisition. They were concerned that they didn't have any new housing stock. So we acquired 20 acres for a mixed-use project, which is called the Bella Vista at Lauderdale Lakes. It included a library. They didn't have a library, so it included the construction of a library and the construction of an apartment building. All of this is on Oakland Park Boulevard, and did some townhouses in the project also. We also acted as the counsel for the financing of the library. When the CRA went out and borrowed funds to actually build the library and then gave it to Broward County. The city is currently constructing a 84 single-family home development, but Pulte Homes. I actually went in and we bought the property initially bought it out of bankruptcy. It had been foreclosed by a bank out of Birmingham. I don't recall the name of the bank. We bought the property, held it for a while, and recently, I think within the last 2 years, sold it to Pulte Homes. They have a very active micro business loan program, and we also had to borrow, act as legal counsel for the purchase of a $15 million line of credit. I've been here, as you know, for quite a few years, and so have seen a lot of, been involved in a lot of things that the CRA has done over those years, including the set up the New Markets tax credit information. We also acted as in conjunction. There was originally an agreement between the city and the CRA about the operations of the marina. We negotiated all those documents, and also acted as issues counsel for the issuance of the revenue bonds that were used to do the infrastructure improvements here at the marina. I've somewhat specialized now in affordable housing. We also represent the Palm Beach County, make sure I get the name right, the trust, I think it's the Trust of Palm Beach County, Land Trust of Palm Beach County. We're currently negotiating a contract between two nonprofits to build a project. It's going to be out on, I think it's down in South County, out in Lake Worth at least. At one point, I served as general counsel for the Palm Beach County Housing Finance Authority. We enjoy the work. We enjoy specifically the housing. If there is an issue that comes up, which I don't have expertise in, such as we had an issue when we were doing the construction here. We brought in Malcolm Cunningham, who is a specialist in construction law. And we also used a different firm when we had to negotiate the lease, for the Tiki Bar. Really, that's in a nutshell my background. Again, I enjoy the work, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions for Mr. Haygood in regards to his presentation? Very good. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We especially appreciate all the hard work that you provided to the city. Thank you so much. Mr. Evans, is there anything else that we have to do in regards to this item?
Yes, Madam Chair. With respect to, you've had the presentations. If there's no further questions for the entities that have submitted, now is the discussion and deliberation component of the item. There is some information that staff is requesting from the board. We do have some forms, I do believe, for you to rank the number 1 and number 2 firm. The firm that obviously has the most number 1s is the highest ranked firm. We will ask that we go through each of the elected officials to provide us your number 1 and number 2, and then the clerk will receive the document and then tally the scores. But you do need to state publicly who the number 1 and number 2 have on your rankings or scoring sheet.
Thank you, sir. Before we move on to discussion in regards to that item, we're going to have to take care of 2 items of business. Number 1, there's a public comment for this particular item, and we have to break for our regular public comment for our residents. Madam Clerk, if you can go ahead with the public comment for this particular item.
For this item, we have Mary Brown for public comment.
Good evening, this is Mary Brown, Riviera Beach. I was glad to see that others did apply from, I think it was, I think she said Leon County and Miami-Dade, Florida. I also would like to know, in order to build on our strength, for someone to find out why did they withdraw? You know, sometimes, you know, they can also give us some critique this as well, regardless whether or not they withdrew or not. That's just like with the student. We have to find out, you know, where they at in order for you to meet the standards and where they are. So that was one thing that I wanted to say. And these attorneys here, you all know them very, very well. Now is the time to critique them if you would like them to step up their game. Because as everybody knows, all over the landscape, it's quite different now. We are totally in different settings. Pittman group made mention about Leon County School Board. We need more, I'm going to say it, teeth and nails in our representations so that they can bring home the meat and butter for this city here. We are not going to continuously to pay this money here, and we do not receive meat and butter. So I want you all to consider that, and if it's anything that you all need to bring to you know, so that they like to know too where they're at, even though they're in the rankings, but they need to know too, because a lot of times when meetings go on and then some of the council people may bring up something. And this is the time for you as a board to do your homework. They are familiar with us, and we are familiar with them, and we do love them, but we know, and I know for a fact, that you need to critique them to get that teeth and nail in representation and meat and butter. Now, Attorney Sean Pittman made mention about Benjamin Crump. I did read that article. He is a mentor. He loved, I believe that they went to school together or they did something. It was a great article. But please consider it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Is that the public comment for this item?
For this item, yes.
At this moment, we'll take our public comments from the residents. Please be reminded the CRA Board of Commissioners has adopted rules of decorum governing public comment during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the commissioner chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, and or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 unless there is no further business of the CRA, which in that event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if any item is being considered at 7:30, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comment, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced. Madam Clerk.
We have J.B. Dixon, followed by Mary Bram.
J.B. Dixon, Singer Island and Riviera Beach. First, on behalf of everybody who listens to these proceedings at home and who comes here and sits here, I would really like to ask the council people to please use your microphones. I'm sitting in the second row. I cannot understand a word other than Chairwoman Lanier, who uses her microphone. It's really, really difficult to hear, and when you watch it on television at home, it's also very difficult to understand what people are saying. You need to put your mouth next to your microphone. Thank you. The reason that I came up here tonight was really to go back not so much to the public art subject, but the financing part. I think that we've heard a lot from the public that they want the priorities like water to be paid attention to. And I think that that's the intent of the council to, when they ask CRA, and I'm sure they'll also ask the city to look at where those funds can be spent, because most people do not understand, and I think that both the CRA and the city needs perhaps to educate people in the fact that there is not just one big pot of money in either organization. And I know you all know that, but other people don't know that. They think there's one big pot of money, and they don't understand, and I, most of the time, don't understand which ones are coming from grants that are restrictive. If we've applied for a grant for a community garden, we have to do a garden. You know, we cannot do a park. Well, I guess we could probably do a park. But, you know, we can't do a playground, let's say. And if we have applied for funds for art, they can only be spent on art, is my understanding. And if I'm not correct, we really you need to tell me, and I think you need to tell a lot of people every time you go to do something like that, like public art, that someone applied for a grant, they got the grant, hooray, hooray. It can only be used for these things. It cannot be used, let's say, for the water plant. Just like the water plant money cannot be used for public art. I know that sounds very simplistic, but I think most people do not understand that and do not understand the budgeting process. And I know that you're about to go into into your budget process, and I think that would help people who come to those meetings to understand better how you allocate funds and how sometimes you must allocate funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Mary Brown.
Mary Brown, Riviera Beach. Reimagine Riviera Beach. The workshop last night was very informative. Very, 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 I would say it was excellent. Ms. Brown would grade that an A. And residents, this is our time in the sun. Now, the next workshop will be on, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's June the 15th. Will be on June the 15th at 6 o'clock p.m. Now, I know that Ms. Ernestine and the rest of us ladies that canvasses you, a lot of times you tell us, we don't want to talk, Ms. Brown. You don't have to talk. Your presence is more valuable than you opening your mouth, because it shows our working staff that you are attentive and you do not have to speak. It is enough of us to dialogue what you want conveyed. So Ms. Brown says that we hear you, and we're proud of our city manager and the board trying to move us in some things where we need to be moved at. I attended Mr. Earl Davis' funeral on last Saturday, and I constantly stress my condolences to that family, and I ask that the community pray for his wife as well as the family to give her strength. Mr. Davis was truly a servant. See, we come to serve and not to be served. You may not like it, but it's part of the scope. And a lot of times you build on what you don't like. So Earl Davis did a lot for this community, and we do appreciate his service. He had a saying that says, and no one could say it better than his sister, "What's on your mind, and who put it there?" So Ms. Brown gonna take that one, because he would always tell me that too. So in Miss Charlotte DeVille, everybody know Miss Charlotte. She would attend the meetings here. She is very, very ill, and I ask that you all keep her in your thought and prayers for a speedy recovery. So you all think about those. And to all of the bereaved families, Miss Brown shares her condolences with you. I've been there. Your pain is your pain, but we all share a pain. So I constantly say that I think about you all, and when I'm informed, I can't be to everything. So my thoughts and prayers are with you, as well as our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Evans, do you have any comments for those public comments for the item and for the regular public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, just briefly, the next workshop for Reimagine Riviera Beach is Tuesday, June 15th, and they will be 2 more sessions after that. Every Tuesday, we will be having that session for the month of June. And if you haven't registered, please register online. If not, you're more than welcome to show up at the Wells Recreation Center at 6 p.m., and you can register on site. That's it, Madam Chair.
All right, very good, thank you. So direct us in our next endeavor here. Are we going to just rank and then pass it down to you, and then you tell us the results? Or how do we do it? We discuss it. I don't know what it is there to discuss, but maybe there may be some questions that the board wants to discuss with each other.
So, Madam Chair, my recommendation would be for the board, if the board wishes to have a discussion, they can certainly do that. If not, you can go straight to the ranking. After you do write in your ranking. If then you can call upon each of your colleagues to communicate their ranking and then pass the form down. We will then have the clerk tally it and then provide the information to the board.
Very good. Are there any comments, or do you want to bring something up in regards to this item 4?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
So, just out of curiosity, looking at the tabulation sheets that was done by the evaluation committee, 2 questions. I want to guess at these initials of these evaluators, but can somebody say who those are?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
The evaluation committee was Scott Evans, Miss Anita Jenkins, and Mr. Randy Sherman.
Okay, follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and it appears that from the score sheet that there's a line for oral presentations. Was that conducted with the evaluators?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
No, there was no oral presentation. They ranked solely on the book.
Okay, all right.
All right, very good. If there are not any other questions in regard to this item, please fill out your form, ranking form,
Sign it.
and sign it. And,
Sign, right?
huh?
It says name and signature.
Correct.
Name and signature,
Print and sign.
print and sign. All right, very good. There's only 2 here, so we'll start down with Commissioner
I'm sorry, never mind, disregard.
Commissioner Lawson. Could you provide your rankings, please, sir?
Ranking number 1, Pittman Law Group. Number 2, J. Michael Haygood.
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes, Madam Chair. J. Michael Haygood, number 2, Pittman Law Group, number 1.
Commissioner Botel?
Pittman Law Group, number 1, Michael Haygood, number 2.
Commissioner Miller Anderson?
Pittman Law Group, number 1.
And for the chair, Pittman Law Group number 1, J. Michael Haygood number 2. We'll pass these down. You can go over these, and you can provide us with some kind of feedback on that. And we will wait until you do that. And we're going to go ahead and, Mr. Evans, since you're not doing the ranking, could you go ahead and give us your comments for this evening, please?
I have no comments, Madam Chair.
Very good. Comments by the General Counsel,
No, ma'am.
starting with Mr. Douglas Lawson. Commissioner Lawson, do you have any comments for this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
As a just follow-up for our procurement department, I want to make sure that moving forward, we provide the utmost exposure to the city with every solicitation that goes out from this board, every RFP, RFQ, ITN, any job entry. I just don't want it to be a local exposure because we're not doing the maximum opportunity or benefit for the city of Riviera Beach. So we want to give the opportunity to really develop and grow this community with international recognition. So the only way that we can do that is by marketing the city properly and effectively. And I think that we have to do a better job with that. I'm so appreciative of the firms that have applied, but they're only going to see it if they're looking at the Palm Beach Post or on our city website. And that's unacceptable. We didn't even, go ahead, Ms. Pimsel, if you wanted to comment on that.
Madam Chair, I think I know what Ms. Pimsel is going to communicate, so I may be able to save her a trip. We did put it out on Demand Star. When staff said the website, it's the website through Demand Star, which is a national exposure, so it went out nationally.
So why was it not placed on the CRA association like the, or associations like the FRA, National Board, Florida Board?
Mr. Evans?
As it relates to those particular outfits, I don't have a response to those. Those are certainly some things that we can put it out, but we did put it out on
Okay.
our Demand Star.
And just the comments, moving forward, I'm satisfied with the firm we've selected. I'm excited with the firm we've selected. We need to do a better job with every procurement option that we have, every RFP that goes out, because receiving 1 or 2 responses for this municipality that's on the up and up, that is moving in a great direction. I want to see more and give more opportunities for our residents to pick from. And those are my comments for the night. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Councilman McCoy?
Just a couple things. So, in response to that, Ms. Penzel suggested that it was posted on the CRA, the city, and on Demand Star. And I tell you, I have this problem all the time. When you go to the CRA and to the city, it loops you to Demand Star. So you can -1 because I did download the packet, and that doesn't necessarily mean that someone is interested in the solicitation when they download. It's just, as a member of the governing body, I just find it so difficult that I don't even know what the city is soliciting for, and I'm now forced to go to this website, create a user account, and I get all of these messages just to know what we're putting out. I had someone ask me, why did you guys pull back on the solicitation for utility district security cameras? And I'm saying to myself, I have no idea what you're referring to, but I have to literally go to the website that the general public does. So I don't believe that everybody that actually accesses those links and selects it actually has interest in downloading or interest in soliciting. So I don't really believe that we get as many hits as, you know, as we hear, but that's the only way you can access the information. The second item was, you know, Dr. Botel, thank you for bringing that item regarding the painting, because, you know, I look sometimes to try to figure out, we have a lot of responsibility, and I think more importantly, the murals and the street art, which I don't support us putting a sculpture in the middle of Avenue E. That's just an accident waiting to happen. But I think we need to readdress our entire priorities for the CRA. We've purchased a number of properties, both on the city and CRA side, and it seems like we're buying properties with no real, you know, short-term but long-term plan within the next 2.5 years on how we execute and how we bring this all together. Because if we're relying on the private sector to help develop, we have to have skin in the game besides the property. So there are some other things that I would expect. Like, I was surprised to see in the development agreement that we basically contribute almost $1 million in 2 properties and 2 parcels with nothing in return. So I think going forward, there is going to be some monetary contribution when we begin to do a phase 2 redevelopment, or I think now, which is back on the table, the Avenue F and Blue Heron project, Blue Water, I believe it was, or something of that. Is Blue Water?
Blue Lagoon.
Blue Lagoon project. So, you know, I mean, art is good, but the purpose is, as I heard mentioned today, is to reduce slum and blight. And I don't want us to get too far with that, because we can paint pretty pictures and still have crumbling infrastructure. So, and I would hope, you know, when we bring this back, that we kind of take a look, which is kind of opportune time that now we're going into budget discussions, to look at how we reallocate not just the $160,000 that we have set aside for murals, but overall our priorities as to what we're doing in the CRA, because it seems like deja vu, and I've seen this movie before. It seems like we keep talking about the same thing, and as well as the special events. I'm being asked about special events that I have no idea, and we ought to be a promotion company at this point, the number of special events that we're doing. And you know, the very first thing that I would expect is, I want to see what our return on investment is. Do we get, you know, a certain number of participants, and, you know, what was the overall consensus? What was the survey? What was the buy-in, or what did folks take out of it other than having a party? And lastly, Mr. Evans, I know I asked this question yesterday in our meeting about phase 2, but was there some sort of timeline that you indicated as far as when we'll see that again, or in light of the tax credit applications?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
With respect to the phase 2, we are moving forward with bringing an item before you all for consideration as it relates to the application for the state tax credit program, and having the board make a determination if that is the project that they wish to support as they go through the phases, as well as the discussion as it relates to site control, because there has to be some type of an agreement in place with regards to site control, and then the getting the consultant queued up and ready to review the financial structure. So there's a couple of things that will be coming back before the board. I will put together a timeline and send that to the board via email so you have a tentative schedule and when we can anticipate some items coming before the board for decisions.
One last thing, Madam Chair.
Yes, one last thing. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Evans, the conversation that I brought to you yesterday regarding ambassadors paid for holiday, do you want to respond to that, or is that best fitted for a budget discussion? But I wanted to see if we can retro during the fiscal year now.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may. I did have the conversation with staff today. We are having a discussion tomorrow. It's in regards to the compensation for some of our frontline personnel that they're not entitled to or do not receive the same type of benefits that are on the city side. So one of the things that we will be offering to those employees that do work holidays, they would get the same type of pay as their colleagues on the city side. Also, we will look for those that worked Memorial Day to compensate them the same way we would compensate persons that worked Memorial Day on the city side. But as part of the budget discussions, we are going to look to create parity both on the CRA and city side with respect to compensation and compensation philosophies and benefits.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Botel?
Thank you. Am I speaking into my microphone, Ms. Dixon? Thank you. I first wanted to thank Mr. Haygood for his service. That was a very, very difficult decision, I'm sure, not only for me, but for my colleagues as well. I want to remind people that we'll have the dedication and opening of the Singer Island Community Garden on June 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. Bring your dads. That's Father's Day, but it will be fun for them, we promise. And please, colleagues, mark your calendars. It's going to be a very nice event, and I hope that you can all join us there for that event. On Sunday, this coming Sunday, that's the 13th, from 2 to 5 at the Ocean Walk Mall under the blue awnings, we'll have a celebration of World Oceans Day, where you can learn how to cook a lionfish, join Loggerhead Marine Life staff to help us clean up the beach, hear about dolphin research, meet some local divers, and a host of other interesting ocean-related things. As did one of our speakers, I would like to encourage people to attend the Reimagine Riviera Beach workshops. It was such an informative presentation last evening, and they'll feed you. So get out there next Tuesday. Oh, it's at Wells, not here. It's over at Wells, and it's at 6 o'clock on next Tuesday. And this morning I attended the Palm Beach County Housing Steering Committee meeting along with Ms. Jenkins, and I would like to know if we can please ask Ms. Jenkins to do a report about housing at one of our upcoming meetings. We need to adopt a housing plan for the city. We need to commit to doing affordable housing workshops so we can understand, all of us understand the need that we have here. We need a vigorous affordable housing trust fund linked to a substantive community benefits / workforce set-aside program. And I know that Ms. Jenkins is the person that can inform us about all those topics. So I would hope that she would speak with us on the issue of affordable housing at one of our next meetings. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller-Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Haygood, for your service to the CRA board over these last few years. And look forward to, working with our new group, the Pittman Law Group. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. My comments are residents in the Federal Garden area, including those who missed the traffic calming informational session, can review the video on the City of Riviera Beach's YouTube website, and you can still vote on the traffic calming options of your preference by using a SurveyMonkey link that is on the city's website. Also, the Riviera Beach Urban Farm Project is in need of volunteers for planting, weeding, and clearing garden space on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7, or Saturdays from 8 to 10 during the months of May and June at Barracuda Bay, 1621 West Blue Heron Boulevard. A month or two ago, we planted seeds, and if you pass by Blue Heron, those things are flourishing. So we will have some food very soon. But I encourage residents to become involved with this community garden. This garden is going to produce, everywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 pounds of food for the residents of this city. Sustainability, us taking care of ourselves, and able to be and being able to have community involvement, because it's not just planting and seeding there. They're having workshops, they're having meditation, they're having yoga, they're going to have a farmer's market. So I want you to get in on the ground floor of this perfect location and perfect program that the city has put out. Thank you so much. And Mr. Evans, do you have any information in regards to the ranking, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair. At this particular time, I'd ask the clerk to be able to provide the rankings based on the submissions by the board.
Thank you.
Do I just name the law firm that won?
Yes.
Okay. The law firm is Pittman Law Group for the CRA.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sean Pittman and your group for your presentation, and welcome to the City of Riviera Beach. We look forward to reimagining the City of Riviera Beach and for you to help us to get there. Thank you so much.
Madam
And
Chair, we need
yes,
official action from the board.
we need official action. Could we please get a motion to accept these rankings?
Make a motion to accept the rankings.
Second.
Second by
And
Madam
Madam Chair, to direct the executive director, the city attorney, to work on a contract with
Make
the
a
number
motion
one
to,
ranked
and
firm.
make a motion to direct the executive director to work on the contract with
Second.
the city attorney.
There's a second from Miller Anderson. Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Commissioner Botel,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Welcome to the City of Pittman Group. We are adjourned.